computer is happening. So the floor is yours, Pietro Oliva.
Thank you very much. So welcome everybody, and to my friend Giuseppe Pino Eramo, and welcome Mario Caporale, who is the speaker of this talk. Let me introduce briefly to the audience who is Mario Caporale. He's an engineer, of course, specialized in electronic control, and he worked for 40 years in the field, 20 in Telespazio, if I remember, and 20 years in our Italian space agency. So it's really skilled on the topic he's talking about now. And of course, with the Italian Space Agency, he worked with the Galileo satellite program. So it's very interesting for us to hear eventually what was his experience with this satellite. Moreover, he was the co-founder and member, of course, of the International Committee for Satellite Navigation. So let's check it out on the internet for the audience. You can really check it out. You write International Committee for Satellite Navigation and check it out, which is a very nice project. And I think he's currently vice president of the Italian Institute of Navigation, if I'm right. Mm-hmm. Let me read the updates because I'm not up to date. Since July 2020, he has been certified as an advanced expert in aerospace by Certing Accredia, the famous entity which gives certification in Italy. And now is attend specialization courses in system engineering and, of course, project management, because at this level you start to lose ground with your starting specialization, and you lose to have more, let's say, an overall vision of your projects. And I think this is the main topic we will cover today. So I give you the stage, and I thank you again.
Okay, so thank you very much, Pietro, for your kind introduction. Well, I spent, as you said, a number of years mainly being responsible or for industry or for my agency for certain activities. So this was a kind of management activity where, you know, we will see later the difference between leadership and management. Now, in management, you have a number of people which respond to you in some way. The leadership is something where you have the capability to inspire people, where you have no other, let's say, power on it. Huh? And I would say that I got a best experience of leadership when I was president of a Rotary Club, where the Rotary Club, as you know, it's a bunch of volunteer people. And then you have to manage this volunteer to do the work. And you don't have any, let's say, hours or punishments not to work on it. So this would be very interesting. But okay, first of all, I'll try to share the presentation. So tell me if you can see it. Can you see the presentation?
Yeah.
Not yet.
Yes.
Okay. I can, let's say, enlarge it, but I don't know.
If you press now full screen.
Is it working?
No, it's not full screen yet. So you should make it full screen. So if you go down on the right corner, you will make
No, because I already pushed the full screen, but you don't see in full screen.
So basically, what you should do now is you should stop sharing the current screen And then I think you can select which particular window you can then decide to share. So then you just pick the window that I think it's currently on the presentation on.
So let's see, I'll try again. Now, can you see it?
Yes, there we go.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Very good. Okay, so this is the first view graph now, where you can see that the idea is to speak about the leadership and the skills, soft skills for leadership. First of all, I mean, I want to say that this concept has been subject of study since Plato, philosopher, so it's a very long time ago, and it was studied later for a long time, because, I mean, essentially the idea was to understand how it's possible to lead a number of people and convince them to do something for a common goal, a common objectives. But I would say that only in these 20 centuries, at the beginning of 20 centuries, the studies were more detailed, maybe also because of the historical event. I recall that we had the Second World War, or this phenomena of, let's say, fascism, or let's say Nazis and so on, where a kind of leadership which is mixed to management, let's say, was conducted and really moved a lot of people towards certain objectives. But anyway, let's see if, well, the rest is coming on. Well, you can see the second view graph, or it's okay. Okay, so the leadership is mainly the ability to influence other people. And this is important, with or without authority. That's a real difference. Unfortunately, well, my connection sometimes is unstable. I hope you can see it anyway. So the three, let's say, characteristics of this ability can be, let's say, distinguished in interpersonal effectiveness, conflict management, and problem solving. Let's see the interpersonal effectiveness. This is a capability to influence others in a competent way. And this is function of three other characteristics: awareness, ability, and commitment. The awareness is a state of consciousness, right? And is the ability to recognize yourself, the other people, the situation where you are. And it's very important to see the impact of the actions that you do on the other people. It's a development process, which is a function of experience, communication, self-discovery. And the ability is the ability to learn and understand technical issues and so on. Ability to communicate, to resolve conflict, to solve problems, and make decisions. So as a member of a team, we have the capability to influence others in a collaborative effort to find better ideas or solve problems. And commitment. Commitment is something which is based on the capability to recognize that a decision that you can take can have positive effect on some people, but can have negative effects on others. It's a strange situation. Unfortunately, no decision can be positive for all. And this is an important aspect to recognize when you need to lead a number of people. So the other two aspects of the ability of leadership is a conflict management. First of all, the conflict management is a fundamental process in order to limit the negative aspects of a conflict and trying to increase the positive aspects of conflict itself. So what is important in the conflict is to use also the capability of avoidance, to ignore the issues. But on the contrary, accommodating styles to resolve the issues of the person in conflict, try to strengthen the barrier that inhibit the conflict. So first of all, it's fundamental to avoid the start of conflicts. But when conflicts happen, try to identify the problem, identify the feeling, the impact, decide whether to resolve the conflict, and resolve the conflict as soon as possible. Conflicts are really very devastating group of persons. Problem solving is another important capability of the leadership, which is essentially the capability to find solutions to problems which are raising during the life of the group. There are a lot of technicalities, to understand the problem-solving capability. Some examples which are mentioned on the view graph are the Kepner-Trigo technique, the Alamo technique, the cause mapping technique. You see the short, let's say, graph, which is on the picture, on the slide, is a cause mapping capability. I don't deal with these detailed aspects, but you can, let's say, understand, learn this capability, and they are fundamental in order to have the capability of leadership. So in synthesis, what I presented before, leadership, interpersonal effectiveness, conflict management, problem solving. The first characteristics can be split in awareness, ability, and commitment. So leadership is the ability to influence a group in order to reach certain goals. And it's something different with respect to the management. Management, they use the authority, which is designated in a certain organization with a certain rank, which is formal. And it's important to understand the difference of these two, let's say, concepts, because manager normally manage tasks. Leaders lead people. That's a very big difference. But these are two capabilities, leadership and management, two skills which are always fundamental for the success of an organization. Because you can have a manager who can fail to lead, and in that case, for example, they don't understand why the people are not, let's say, are having difficulties to work at the best capability, or the leaders which fail to manage and then don't understand why the schedule of the budget is going out, with respect to what has been foreseen. There are two important capabilities which are in the, let's say, theoretical conditions better to have all together. But you can see later that leadership is composed by a complex set of skillness, which definitely is impossible to have all together in one person. But we will see later. So leadership and management skills. In a first, let's say, glare, we can say the leadership skills are communication, motivation, stress management, team building, change management. While on the contrary, the management hard skills are scheduling, staffing, activity analysis, project control. But let's see, and it could be very interesting now to see the different theories which developed on the leadership concept. I want to mention, let's say, these four you see on the slide. The first one is the trait theories. Then we have the behavioral theories, charismatic theories, transactional theories, and transformational theories. Let's start with the trait. Well, this theory considered that, personality, social, physical, intellectual traits differentiate leader from non-leader. So the leaders have certain characteristics, which are mainly extraversion, consciousness, openness, emotional intelligence. And these traits characterize the leader, but unfortunately they are not universal and cannot predict the leadership in all the situations. Unfortunately, this theory in synthesis say that the leaders normally are born. You can't learn and become a leader. You are born as a leader or you are not. On the contrary, the behavioral theory say that the leadership can be taught. So someone developing a number of training activities and so on can improve and reach this capability of leadership, which trait theories say is not. The charismatic or inspirational theories see this capability in certain people which have the abilities to, let's say, govern a group of people. These people have a vision, are willing to take personal risks to achieve the vision. Typical case which is in the picture of Martin Luther King. Have a dream, and so on. Are sensitive to follower needs and exhibit behavior that are out of the ordinary. Then we have the transactional theory and the transformational theories. There are two really very big difference between two. The transactional is mainly based on, let's say, results, relying on rewards and punishment to achieve the best performance of the followers. And the transformational leader, they are mainly focused on inspiring others causing positive change in the individual. And transformational leadership is the one which is capable also to form leaders from a number of followers. I recall, we have been trained in the space agency on this last one, transformational leadership. We got a lot of these training courses because it's probably the best one. We will see later now. If we can see on a graph where you have on the Y coordinate the effectiveness of leadership, and on the X coordinate the activeness. The transformational is the one reaching the best effectiveness and activeness. Trust. The trust is the foundation of leadership. That's an important concept. It's a positive expectation that another will not act opportunistically. So the trust is based on a relevant but limited sample of experience. And if we see the dimension of trust, we see that it's full of integrity, competence, consistency, loyalty, openness. Integrity means mainly the honesty and truthfulness. The competence, the individual, technical, and interpersonal knowledge and skills. Consistency, and individual reliability, predictability, and good judgment in handling the situation. Loyalty, to be loyal, willingness to protect and save face for other persons. That's an important aspect, leading a group of people. And openness, reliance on person to give you the full truth. 3 types of trust. We have the deterrence-based trust, which is based on fear of reprisal if the trust is violated. Or knowledge-based trust, where the trust is based on behavioral predictability that comes from a history of interaction. And the identification-based trust, which is based on mutual understanding of one another's intention and appreciation of the other's want and desire. For sure, the identification-based trust is really now the top one. Last but not least, I want to mention the online leadership, especially now in the last, I would say, 2 years, where most of the contacts of people were based on online capabilities. So it's a leadership at distance. So you need to build trust in this case. The lack of face-to-face contact in electronic communication, remove the non-verbal cues which support verbal interaction. I would say that, this online leadership is getting more and more importance, especially due to the globalization now, which is continuously, let's say, growing, and the need, especially for, let's say, international companies, international group, where you need to manage people which are geographically distant each other. And any leadership has a style. And the style is what different the leadership of one person from the leadership of another. And no one style is correct for all the situations. So you probably have to adapt your style according to the situations. And you see in this picture that there are at least a number of 10 different styles. Is the visionary styles, progress focused, the servant style, the autocratic, authoritarian style, laissez-faire style, or the democratic, very supportive, pace setter, transformational, from my point of view, is very, very interesting. Transactional, but very depending on the situation, as I already said, and bureaucratic style. But let's see the skillness now. I would say that there are essentially 4 major groups of skillness for leadership, which I already mentioned before. Communication skillness, which are fundamental, personal skillness, interpersonal skillness, and professional skills. Communication skills, well, they are, let's say, conjugated in verbal communication, body language, physical communication, but also writing, storytelling, visual communication, humor, quick witness, listening, capability of listening, presentation skills, public speaking, interviewing. There are many. The personal skills enumerate, for example, emotional intelligence, self-awareness, emotional management, stress management, tolerance of change and uncertainty, taking criticism, self-confidence, and so on. Well, I don't want to read all of them, but for now, let's see these 4 major classes. Interpersonal skills, which are networking, interpersonal relationships, capability of dealing with difficult people, conflict resolution, personal branding, office politics, and professional skills. So organization, planning, scheduling, time management, they are very, let's say, common to management skills. Technology savvy, technology trend awareness, business trend, business etiquette, and so on. I would really now synthesize in 4 view graphs the major attributes of a leader, in all the we saw before. So first of all, the guiding vision. So effective leader know what they want to do and have a strength of character to pursue their objectives, also in case of opposition or in spite of failure. But it's fundamental to establish achievable goals, not, let's say, very theoretical goals which are impossible to reach. Another character fundamental is the passion. Effective leader believe passionately in their goals. If you don't believe in your goals, you can't lead. So they have a positive outlook. Their passion for life is a guiding star for the followers. Integrity. Integrity is a fundamental character, which is very easily felt by the followers. The Leaders, the successful leader, only make promises they can follow through, not impossible promises. Honesty. Another important area of the leader is the honesty in both professional and personal lives. Trust, we discussed before about trust. And trust is fundamental. No? If the followers trust on you, then you can really inspire them to the objectives you want to reach. Curiosity, a leader, a real leader, true leader, is curious. No? The curious means that the leader are also capable to learn. And they don't, let's say, lose the occasion to learn from your followers. You can continuously learn. And the risk, effective leaders can calculate the risk. That's fundamental. Because if you don't calculate the risk, then you can drop in a bunch of continuous mistakes. Then you need to dedicate yourself. Dedication is fundamental. The true leaders really can dedicate completely their life to their goals. Charisma unfortunately is an attribute which is very difficult to cultivate. Or you have it, but anyway, it conveys maturity, respect for your followers, compassion, a fine sense of humor, a love of humanity. And listening is fundamental. You have to listen continuously your group. Never be tired to listen your people. And now, there are some, let's say, called the recipe for cultivating the leadership capability. First of all, take control of your life. Assuming responsibility for what you are, convey positive and dynamic attitude in everything you do, accept the blame, learn from mistakes, and take the blame, especially take the blame of your group. Because what is worst in leadership is really point the blame on one individual or your group. Now, if something is wrong, it's your responsibility. Give credit wherever it is due and be compassionate with the others. Then think great thoughts. Small thinking is why companies go broke. Turn disaster into opportunity, which is really very challenging phrase, but turning every obstacle in a personal time. This will be really the strength of a leader. Determine your real goals, and it's fundamental to be real, let's say, achievable goals, and you take them. When you want to tell someone something important, do it personally, never openly in group. Don't be afraid to get your hands dirty. Doing things. That's another important aspect, especially I experienced this in the Rotary Club. Well, and last group, listen effectively, encourage teamwork and participation. Our team members, so delegation is fundamental. Communicate effectively, emphasize long-term productivity, make sound and timely decisions, treat each person as an individual, know yourself, your team, protect your team, and have a vision courage, and commitment. So leadership is about having a vision. If you don't know where you are going, how can you expect to get there? It's a very acceptable, let's say, phrase. Leadership is about inspiring trust. Leadership is about seeing possibilities. And leadership is about seeking new strategies. So how to improve your leadership skill? As we said before, no one can have all these skills that we mentioned in the presentation all together, in one person. But I mean, one can reflect and identify the skills that you need. The one where you are, let's say, less, let's say, field, and lead effectively and create your action plan to develop them. Ask feedback, ask for feedback. And this can be asked to work colleague, line management, managers, students, and so on. Practice continuously, take on responsibility and reflect on performance. Find a mentor, learn from positive leadership role models, and attend, let's say, further training if necessary. I just wanted to highlight 3 major readings, which I really found very interesting, yes. As I said before, I'm very fond of transformational leadership, and this book of Mr. Bass and Riggio is very, very interesting. Then there is famous Leadership by Northhouse book. And last, the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by John Maxwell. That's my suggestion. And well, this goes to the end of my presentation. Then I am ready to answer questions and so on. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mario. Thank you very much for this super interesting talk. And I take the chance because I'm speaking to be the first one to make a question. If I can, of course, Costa, I can.
Yeah, you can start, okay. and the audience also in the middle time they can type their questions on the chat, or they can raise their virtual hand that can be found above the reactions to ask, our speaker directly. So the floor is to Pietro.
Yes, this is really a question that interests me a lot. So it's a kind of a personal question for me, but it has a general of course, interest. So it happens in, I think, everybody working life that you kind of evolve in your task that you're doing. And of course, it can be, not everybody does it, but it can be that you start to have some kind of management problems. If you are a normal worker, maybe not, but in the research field, especially, you may start to pass from PhD to researcher, for example, and you start to have people below you, PhDs, students, and you find yourself in the position that you start to must delegate to people. In my opinion, this ability to delegate is one of the fundamental skills that a leader should have, because otherwise you fall inside the micromanagement, which is a illness. I think it's a psychological illness. It's considered today. So the question is, there is a kind of, let's say, a situation in which you start to realize that you must improve your ability to delegate. When you really start to when it starts to be necessary to delegate. Otherwise, your work is not possible to go on. It depends by the number of people you direct control, or on the task, or on the mixture of the two. When it's really important to start to delegate and forget about the subtasks. This is my question.
Mainly the topic you highlight is mainly management tasks, no? Because I mean, you are responsible for a number of people, or researcher in this case. Well, I was in this situation, first of all, in the industry, because I always had a group of graduated people, engineer or physicists or mathematicians and so on. In that case, I mean, the most important aspects is the competence. If you have a competence in certain things, you can delegate. But if there is no competence, then what is important is to know the characteristics of your personnel. And according to these characteristics, you can, let's say, delegate or assign a certain person to other in order to train them. And this is important to be done according to the specific characteristics of the people. So first of all, you need to know your people really in deep situation. The competence is fundamental for a job industry. For the space agency was the same, mainly. The delegation is something that should be done also in case of, let's say, less ability, because you have to push people to start. The way to work, let's say, independently, but also, let's say, suggest them to share the information with the others, never conflict each other, if you want to really work as a group.
Thank you very much, and I hope there are other questions. I see Giuseppe, Pino, Eramo, that you can take.
Yes, Mario.
Yes.
My question is very short and looks like also intelligent. Tell me, leadership can hide a will to power, and if so, in which cases?
So you said the leadership can
hide a will to power. Someone can.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's very difficult to say about this. The question is that the leader want to reach certain goals, and then try to convince the group he has to, let's say, achieve these goals. This leader can also, let's say, have no rank at all, but can inspire people, discussing continuously with them, participating to, let's say, common talks and so on, as it was happening, for example, in these political movements which were developing, trying to, I just have in mind, for example, the capability of the young Hitler, when was pushing their people, mainly in Austria, against the situation, which was at the time, and leveraging number of elements which are pushing people to act. Well, then when he got really the power, at the time, I mean, he was mainly a manager, with the influence given by his power, how punish or let's say reward people and so on. But this capability of leadership was in his, let's say, character at the very beginning. What you said, if it is hiding or less, this will to reach the power. Well, maybe, but I mean, if you really have all the other, let's say, skill, and then you are open to the other people, you are fair, you are trustful, and so on, well, then it's welcome. But if you want to reach your power just to dominate people, well, sooner or later you will fail.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Costantino.
It's me.
Yeah.
I have a question, to related to Presidente. Presidente was faster than me. I was ready to ask you if you consider figures like Hitler as a leaders. And here, I got your answer, and I would like to say, because I was reading about this, is like, ethics are also a distinctive characteristic if someone is a leader. And definitely these people, they were not the leaders because, their motivation is like almost to destroy, their countries and the humanity. I mean, you cannot say that Putin is a leader. I mean, it can be considered.
No,
Depends. I mean, it's very hard to answer. But I will say ethics. Ethics is something that, people, they can judge, independently of their beliefs, economic power, and etc. So I will say that, definitely these kind of people, they are not leaders, in my opinion. But I would like to ask you a question. It's like, because I'm reading, and always, I was wondering, reading books, and we have here my colleague, Professor Christakis, that he's very cultural, like reading books. It's like, always I was wondering why, Hitler led a whole nation from 1936 to 1945 to a total destruction. And even if, the whole Germany has been destroyed, the society, still helped, the Nazis to escape to Argentina. So I would like to say, I'm not saying that, the Germans, they are Nazis, or I don't mean something like this, but does the cultural intelligence plays a role how to define a leader? How, how the cultural characteristics, how influence the definition of a leader?
Well, we already presented all the characteristics now of a leadership, but it's very difficult and very uncommon to evolve together in one person. Before I said that I saw the capability of young Hitler with leadership. At the time, he was having no power, no rank, nothing at all, but was capable to influence people, not judging the ethics of the subject, because, I mean, if we say that the leadership should be ethics, well, then don't consider a certain number of other capabilities. No, there could be even a leadership of evil, I would say. But when Hitler was at the power, he was a dictator, nothing at all with leadership. I agree with you.
Mm-hmm. We have a question on, before I go to Luca, there's a question on the audience from a student of ours, Fabian Treiber, and the question is the following. What do you think will be the most important skill to master for future leaders as leading is getting more and more complex in the VUCA world? I don't know what does it mean, VUCA.
Yeah, it's volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Okay. No, I didn't know this acronym.
Yeah, it means the youngers that are always changing jobs and traveling around, also for better ways of living.
Okay, okay. Well, I think that it's fundamental to have openness, to have a capability of listening. I mean, it's fundamental to discuss with your people continuously, as there are many aspects, I mean, to consider important. But I mean, the trust and the fairness should be fundamental. If you don't inspire trust, you cannot be leader.
Thank you. And let's give the floor to Luka Kragulic, a student.
No. I was just I was going to point out that there was a student in the chat.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
So I don't have a question.
Thank you, Luca. I have a second question for you, Mario, if you don't mind.
You're welcome.
You mentioned that there are different kind of leadership skills that you should demonstrate based on the situation. So I was wondering, how difficult is, for one person to demonstrate facing so many different situations in his or her life every day, these different skills? Is this possible?
Well, I said that there are different styles of leadership according to the situation, styles. So, for example, you can be very transformational as a leader, but in certain conditions, you should act as a transactional. I mean, trying to, let's say, maximize the punishment and the rewards to reach certain goals. So the style can change according to the situation, to the group you have, in which entity you are, and so on. But I mean, the major, let's say, I would say, guiding points of leadership should remain in there.
So one person, as a function of his or her experience, can demonstrate different kind of style, leadership style, depending on the situation. Okay.
Yes, yes.
Let's give the floor now to our colleague from Hellenic Mediterranean University, Professor Christakis. The floor is yours. You are muted, Dimitris, you are muted.
The microphone.
Yeah.
Hello, do you hear me?
Yeah, very well.
Okay. I'm really very impressed with Professor Mario Caporale for many reasons. The first one is that an engineer is also a philosopher and and very active socially, because I suppose that you are an active member of Rotary. So you transfer to us a lot of experiences you have from the applications of the liberty of the leadership in practice. So I want to ask you something following the questions of my friend Konstantinos Petridis. What is your opinion about the relation between the leader and the cultural environment he is working as a leader? What are the and I want to tease you with a very important for everybody, I think, question. We saw that during the leadership of Hitler and Mussolini and other leaders like them, a very big amount of very big percentage of their people followed them and participated to crimes. What is the role of the culture the people or of the groups a leader addresses to follow him.
Okay. Can I?
And in order to integrate my question, what are the characteristics of leadership in relation with the relation of the leader and the culture of the people following him?
Yes. Well, as I said before, my experience is mainly with, let's say, groups of followers which are acculturated, so graduated people, or in case Rotarians, they have different, let's say, different job capabilities, but mature people. I have no experience of, well, in a certain time, I was also giving my military service in a, in a very strange situation, because, I mean, when I was official, I had a bunch of people who were really lowest level of, let's say, culture and, let's say, knowledge. But I mean, the military goal were different. No, there were certain restricted, limited goals to reach as a platoon, for example. And the problem was always the same. No? I recall at the time, I was very young at the time. These people having the lowest level of school formation, nevertheless, they were keen to contribute. For example, the goal at the time of the platoon was, for example, to reach certain objectives during exercise, for example, which were military exercise. And they were, let's say, capable to reach the goals given just to have the success of the platoon, so the group. And this was reached because we were receiving really knowledge by the general, which were looking at these exercises. In order to motivate them, we had to push on the, let's say, I would say in Italian, we say amor proprio, no? So the love yourself, no? And just leveraging the love of yourself, this was enough, I mean, to convince them to give their best. But coming to your situation, yes, I agree that the leadership is very depending on the cultural level of the moment and the time. No? What happened, for example, in this history, and then Mussolini was capable to leverage a lot of people at the time. It was the result of the situation on the historical moment. But I mean, in this case, we consider very different goals of the leadership. My experience was mainly leadership, mainly spent in an industry or in a, let's say, space agency. So really I have no political leadership knowledge, I would say.
But Mario, to doubt if what the leader translates to you. What are the leaders, let's say, motives and mottos in order to influence the people, because the leaders are rhetors as well, as we say in ancient Greece. It has to do with the culture, how regarding its discipline, or it is not discipline, it's freedom to judge, the authority. For example, in the South Mediterranean nations, this is more easily to express. But if you go to German society or to North European society, they are the high context cultures. They follow the path, and you don't, this is what I have to do. They don't have the imagination or the flexibility, let's say, or the non-discipline, if the Germans will translate us, to escape and judge, challenge, the authority. So I mean, it depends on if it's a military, or it depends on if it's like a society, kind of transformations. Culture is there. It plays an important role, in my opinion.
No, I agree with
you can see, you can see how different you should speak to South Mediterranean, to Greeks, or in order to motivate them and lead them, or to inspire them. What kind of wording, what kind of body language you should use, compared to what kind of body language you should use, and how to speak, to North Europeans. So I mean, culture is something that you should take into consideration. And,
absolutely, yes. Absolutely, I agree perfectly. Yeah, I mean, it's very difficult to become a leader, for example, of a person who lived in Europe and then goes in Asia or in China or in Japan and lead there.
exactly.
Very, very difficult. Yeah, I agree.
So there is one more. There is one more question from Fabian. How do you deal with people in your team that they are high performers? I mean, the ego. Now it's the ego part of the game. Let's assume someone that is by far the best employee in the whole sales organization and is generating a huge part of company's revenue, but he or she does not get along with other people. For example, has a lot of conflicts with the whole team and is toxic for the company culture. So how do you deal with this kind of
well, I agree perfectly. This, I mean, the conflict are always behind the corner. The capability of the manager should be really to minimize the conflict, to avoid them if possibly. First of all, to minimize the impact of the conflict in the life of the group. As fundamental aspects. Anyway, the listening capability is fundamental. Wherever, in any, let's say, leadership, I would say.
Thank you. The floor is to Anna Barata. There is one more question.
No, it's Dimitris Christakis. He was with the hand before me.
No, excuse me. I have already.
You forgot to lower it down.
Yes.
Well, I have a very simple. First of all, thank you very much for sharing all your knowledge and experience with us here. It's really very important to. It was very, very, very nice to learn a lot of things and to recognize some ideas in your speech. And my question is the following: is it possible for a team to function and be productive without a leader in a company?
Well, that's which is called the auto management in some cases. Well, in some cases it can work. Why not? Why not? I mean, the goals should be very well understood and known to the members. If the goals are very known, and the people have a lot of capabilities, so the ability, the competence of the subject should be really in there. Well, then the group can really go on reaching their goals. That's a typical case, for example, of you probably recall the Panisperna physicists in Italy, when they discovered a lot of atomic physics concepts and principles. They were all together, but very independent each other. But they reached a lot of goals. So a leader could be necessary when the group should be oriented.
Or a joint leadership.
Yes.
Joint leadership.
Yes, I mean, just as an example, when you have a number of different, let's say, atomic particles, and then you want to orient them now, you need a strong magnetic field, for example. And that's the leadership, should really orient the goals altogether.
Thank you.
There is also, a methodology regarding how the teams, they lead, themselves, which is called the Scrum. That, a lot of companies like Toyota, big companies, they work like this. But I have to disagree in something that, you need a leader in order to innovate. You need a leader to change the root of the history or technology. I don't know anything related to technology or to science that a leader, an individual, was not there to transform, the technology. The teams, they can lead, their task by themselves without, a supervisor, or, this is a manager, now we are confused. But, in order to anything innovative, any transformative, starting with transistors, going to Apple, going to Microsoft, go, to nuclear, kind of, technology. There is a figure, is there. This figure, because of his vision, because of his competencies, because of his belief, change, the thing, transform something.
Yeah,
so,
that's it.
The figure is there. You cannot, a machine can, do these things, but, an individual always was there.
It's the person with a vision.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
It's the innovator, the one that is not afraid of taking risks and taking the challenge ahead.
You can have just a visionary, which is really pushing all together, yes.
But usually, the leaders, they are not just visionaries. They are people that they have the vision and do the work. They are working on this. They are not philosophers. They are people that they have the vision and they are devoted. What, Mario mentioned in his presentation, devotion.
Yes. But as I said before, you should be a leader, but also a manager if you want to reach certain goals, for example, in the technology field, no? Because otherwise you can just lead people, but don't reach any practical goal.
That's why you propose us, courses in leadership and management. This is right. Leadership and management in order to have work. Let's give the floor now to Luca, because there is one question. I hope, Luca, now you have a question.
Yeah, now I do.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, so my question is, in your experience, Dr. Caporale, do you see any bigger differences between leading smaller groups, that is to say 4 to 10 people, and bigger groups, like between 10 to a maximum of 50 people?
Well, absolutely, yes. Small groups, especially with homogeneous culture and so on, it's much easier to lead. For example, when I had to manage complex programs where you have people in matrix, which are some of them under your responsibility, some other in different area of the group, of the organization, completely independent from your power. This was very complicated. But in that case, you have the management, let's say, skillness to improve, not just the leadership itself.
Is it okay,
I don't
Luca?
know if
thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
So a last question. This is the most successful, I will say, because we have spent so much time for questions. question and Q&A session is the most important thing in order to show the impact of the presentation, in my opinion. So thank you very much, Mario. We have a question from a student and follower from Nigeria, University of Nigeria. And the question has two parts. The first part, there was a certain time when some of my colleagues, seeing some good qualities in me, nominated me to head the class. However, one of my colleagues really desired the position and is willing to do anything to get it. How best can one express her interest for a leadership position in order to avoid conflict from the others interested in the same position? This is the first part. If you answer, I will go to the second part.
Okay. Well, it's very difficult to say. I mean, yeah, there is a person who want to get
what happened to Julius Caesar? What happens to Julius Caesar? Was someone else, would like the position?
Yeah.
How better he could handle the situation in order to avoid the assassination?
Well, in that case, I mean, one of these two persons should leave.
Okay, so the second part of our colleague from Nigeria is the following. No particular leadership style is best for everything, for any situation. Are people born with a certain leadership style?
Well, no, the style can be understood, can be learned. The skillness and capabilities, most of them should be already in your person. Some of them you can refine with the experience, with the training and so on. But the style is just a way to use these capabilities according to the situation.
Thank you. I think it's a moment, the moment to close the session. I would like to thank you so much, Professor Caporale, Mario, for this very nice talk. The people that they asked the questions, the audience, the people that they followed the today lecture. The lecture will be uploaded to the YouTube channel. Many thanks to the people from Cusano for introducing us. Mario Caporale, Presidente, and Pietro Oliva, and all of you. We are going to continue with one more lecture next week in resilience skills from a certified resilient trainer, comes from HMU, Professor Cleo Kutra. She's going to teach and discuss with us how from fall back to come back. This is the resilience. And this is so important today, since we have this crisis and this tragedy very close by to us. And also in our daily life, how to overcome and never, quit, learn and go ahead. So I would like to thank you, Kalinikta, Kalispera from Greece, and from all of you. The whole lecture will be uploaded in the Moodle platform, and I will send you the YouTube link. Thank you very much. Ciao.
Okay, thank you. And
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Ciao a
Bye-bye.
tutti.
Bye.
Io